chapter 7. We're coming around the corner here. We've passed the midpoint, and next week's our last class. We got a nice, fun graduation ceremony in the plans, so I really hope everybody can make it. And we're going to try to reach out to those who may not be here today to remind them. We'll remind you guys also. Class will be done probably by normal time, and we're going to probably just have a little bit afterward of class to do the graduation ceremony.
Will the diplomas be framed?
They're going to be printed. Frame's a good idea, actually.
Well, both.
Yeah.
They were saying you can put it like on your resume and stuff like that. Is it credited?
I think putting it in a frame's a cool idea, too. You can just throw it on your wall.
A frame, no.
Yeah.
You gotta pay for that.
So last week we got into what Bitcoin is as an asset, as a currency. We went over those boxes on what currency is and the characteristics and how Bitcoin checked a lot of the boxes. Today we're going to get to use Bitcoin, which is a really fun class. So we'll go over on-chain and Lightning today. We'll get a little bit of experience with both of them. Some of you may already have wallets and may already have experience transacting with Bitcoin, which is cool, but we're going to go through it from the beginning, setting up wallets and going through the process so you can see it. And there's going to be some suggestions on wallets. Again, we're not professionals here either. I definitely suggest doing your own research on specific wallets, characteristics that you like about them. We'll be able to learn about different types of wallets and what they can do, the limits of them, the downfalls, what the advantages are and stuff like that. So let's start with how to use Bitcoin, and we're going to go right into the curriculum here. Here's another quote to start off with. So why would anyone trust nerd money versus central bank money? Nerds bought you the internet, banks bought you the Great Depression. All right, so let's get into it. Now that we have a better understanding of what Bitcoin is and its purpose, it's time to learn how to use it practically. In this chapter, we'll guide you through the process of acquiring Bitcoin step by step, explore the various types of wallets available, help you set up your own Bitcoin wallet, and even practice sending and tracking a Bitcoin transaction on the network. It's time to turn your understanding into action. Here we go. Okay, so acquiring Bitcoin and exchanging Bitcoin. So there are many ways to acquire Bitcoin. For example, you can get paid in Bitcoin in exchange for your work and pay for other people's products and services with Bitcoin. We'll get into that more next chapter. You can mine Bitcoin, which we're going to get into in chapter 9 next week. And then you can exchange your fiat currency for Bitcoin or exchange your Bitcoins for fiat currency in person. We'll get into that. That's peer-to-peer. Exchange your fiat currency for Bitcoin or exchange your Bitcoins for fiat currency online, which is another one we'll get into here. So below we'll explore exchanging fiat currency for Bitcoin and vice versa, both through in-person transactions and online methods, as they are the most common options. Okay, peer-to-peer. Engaging in peer-to-peer transactions for acquiring and selling Bitcoins involves directly exchanging your fiat currency or any other goods and services for Bitcoin with another individual, which eliminates the need for a bank or other party to be involved in the transaction. Both parties mutually determine the exchange amount and rate. The buyer provides the cash, the seller transfers the Bitcoins, and the transaction concludes. While it's easier to do peer-to-peer exchanges physically by meeting with the other individual directly in the real world, you can also do this virtually anywhere thanks to the internet. Additionally, exchanging Bitcoins for fiat currency follows a similar process in reverse. So peer-to-peer online, there's platforms that can do this where Bitcoin buyers and sellers meet in cyberspace to conduct transactions without any intermediaries directly on the internet. So just coming to mind, I know there's a bunch, but coming to mind, I know there's BISQ, B-I-S-Q. There's the where you can buy or you can do peer-to-peer.
There's RoboSats.
RoboSats, where it's peer-to-peer online, and You put money up in escrow essentially, and once the funds are received from the buyer side, the collateral gets released. So there's ways to do it peer-to-peer. With these platforms, you don't have to trust anyone with your information or money. You can meet other peers and trade with them directly. Most of these peer-to-peer platforms, peers have to escrow the funds to ensure that they will comply with their part of the deal. Escrow, it just means putting the money into a safe place that the platform controls until both parties do what they're promised, or what they promised. It's like a trusted friend holding onto your stuff until everyone keeps their word. So that's one way to acquire Bitcoin. Centralized exchanges is probably the most common that we would be associated or knowledgeable about, I should say. Using centralized exchanges may be the easiest way to acquire and sell Bitcoins, but it also involves significant trade-offs. Centralized exchanges are companies that allow clients to buy and sell Bitcoins directly through them. However, this convenience comes at a cost. Centralized exchanges and their trade-offs. It's important to note that when buying Bitcoin through a centralized exchange, you are often required to provide personal information and verify your identity. This creates a risk of identity theft and exposes your personal information to potential threats. Additionally, centralized exchanges hold your Bitcoins for you, which means that they are not in control. You are not in control of your money until you withdraw it from them. To add to these concerns, centralized exchanges can misappropriate users' funds. They can lend Bitcoins or lend more Bitcoins than they have in reserves until they collapse, just like the banks. However, in the Bitcoin world, there's no central bank to bail out fraudulent banks by printing more currency because you can't print more Bitcoins. Okay, so that's how we acquire Bitcoins. Now we're gonna start talking about how you hold Bitcoins. There's different types of wallets that we're gonna go through here. So unlike physical money, Bitcoins are not actually present in a Bitcoin wallet. Instead, they live on the distributed ledger that the Bitcoin network constantly verifies and secures. So how can you own Bitcoins? You have ownership of your Bitcoins only when you own the private keys, allowing you to sign a transaction and transfer ownership of your Bitcoins to someone else. This is the act of sending Bitcoins. So with that in mind, let's take a look at two concepts that we describe when using the term a wallet. I don't know if that can even be seen. So a master private key, it's like a password, from which you can generate public keys that you share with others to receive and send Bitcoins. The mobile or desktop interface from which you can interact with the Bitcoin network to retrieve your Bitcoin balance, send and receive transactions, and broadcast them to the network. Different types of wallets along with their benefits and trade-offs will be described in the next section. Okay, so I was hoping this wouldn't happen. I might have to refresh this. Sorry. It's gonna make me scroll across. Okay, that's okay. Before detailing the different types of Bitcoin wallets and their characteristics, let's make an important distinction between self-custodial and custodial wallets. Shown in the table below, we'll go through it in a second. You can see the benefits of risk using each wallet type and who controls the Bitcoins in each case. Self-custodial means the user holds private keys. Self-custody means us. We hold the keys ourselves. Custodial just means somebody else is holding it for you. There's a custody that's in the responsibility of someone other than you. So self-custody means you hold the private keys and you're in possession of your Bitcoin, while the second type, a third party, holds the Bitcoins. I think it's gonna really make me do this. Okay. It had been working better. So self-custodial wallets on top, which is you. Custodial wallets, which is a third party, on the bottom. Just to go through this real quick. What are we looking at here? Who? Sorry. I know it's not very good for the eye, but so who's in control? The user versus the third-party provider. Benefits: when it's self-custodial, when it's you have complete control over funds and transactions. No approval process or account freezes. No corporate or government control. It's protected against arbitrary confiscation. It's like keeping money at home. The risk of doing it yourself, of self-custodial, is there's no recovery if the recovery phrase, in which we'll get into here in a little bit. If you lose that, there's no recovery for it. There's no customer support, or there's less. There actually is some services now which are trying to be like a customer support for a lot of things Bitcoin. And the responsibility falls on you as the user. For a custodial or a third party holding the Bitcoins, the benefits are that it's easy recovery because there's customer support. They can help you get your funds back. And the risks are that funds are always connected to the internet. They're more vulnerable to hacking and breaches. And custodians, again, that's third party. You just have to trust them so they can control or freeze your account effectively.
Some examples between the two, like, because self-custodial would be like how are you going to store it on? Or...
Correct, yeah. So it would be like a cold storage would be self-custodies versus if you buy and hold your Bitcoin on Coinbase.
Okay, so like an app or anything on your phone, custodial.
Yeah, so we're going to get into some of the ones. So there's even apps or wallets on your phone, mobile wallets that are self-custodial. And we're going to get it, we'll go through the whole process of opening them. But most of what a lot of people getting into it, if they buy Bitcoin for the first time, it's generally going to be on an exchange that's centralized. Something like Coinbase, where it's a company and there's people that make decisions, and then they have their own rules and they can do stuff with the money that comes into them. So if you leave the Bitcoin on there, that means they're holding the keys and you're not in control. So to that point though, in a self-custody wallet, also non-custodial. So custodial, non-custodial, there might be a little bit of confusion, but custodial means it's not you in control. This is a third party. So in a self-custody wallet, also called non-custodial, you're the only one with the keys to the wallet and you have full control over what goes in and out. On the other hand, a custodial wallet, someone else holds a key and you can access and manage the contents of your wallet on your behalf. So self-custody is like being your own bank. Transactions are not subject to control or authority by any government or a company, but it also means you bear full responsibility for keeping your Bitcoin secure. Self-custody ensures that third parties cannot confiscate your Bitcoins without your consent. And self-custody gives peace of mind in times of uncertainty. You know that your Bitcoins are secure. It's important to choose the right type of wallet for each individual's needs. Sometimes it's hard to find, sometimes people find it hard to distinguish whether they're installing a self-custody or a custodied wallet, which is very true. This table shows the differences in the installation process. I went through this earlier. I'm not going to do this to you guys. I have to go find it. I don't know why it's doing that. It's okay because it kind of just regurgitates the information here. So the term "not your keys, not your coin," something you might have heard, but it's something you will hear a lot in the Bitcoin world as you get further along the way. It's popular among Bitcoin holders to say that. It refers to the idea that if you don't have direct control over your private keys associated with your Bitcoin wallet, you don't have control or ownership of the coins. Whoever accesses your private keys will gain ownership of your Bitcoins. This is why it is the utmost importance to protect them by keeping them away from prying eyes. We'll see that in a few ways that you can do that later in this book. What follows, we'll be talking about self-custodied wallets where the user owns their keys and has complete control over their Bitcoins. Don't worry if it seems complicated or you don't understand everything. This is a journey and you will understand as you start using it more. We're going to get to use Bitcoin here. Okay, so different types of wallets. This is going to be a bit of a information splurge coming at you, so kind of just take it for what it's worth, and there's going to be some that we'll highlight and use examples of, and kind of some that we just talk about here. So depending on where your private key is created and stored, we commonly use different names to describe Bitcoin wallets. So it's all about where that key is stored. If the keys are stored on your smartphone, we'll call it a mobile wallet. If they're stored securely on a dedicated device, we'll call it a hardware wallet. If the key is only stored on paper, it's called a paper wallet. That's a cool one we'll get to. All right, so online. It's a wallet that is accessed through the web browser. Some advantages of it are that it's accessible from any device with an internet connection. It's easy to use. Disadvantages are it's very insecure, and it can be hacked and compromised. Examples of these would be, or example use case of this would be someone who needs to access their wallet frequently and doesn't have a lot of funds in there. So this would be the type of wallet where you know you're going to use it pretty often. It's not your long-term savings. You're going to keep enough in there for your spends that you need. Mobile wallets will be similar. So it's a wallet installed on a mobile device though. It's also convenient, it can be accessed from anywhere. If it's lost, or stolen or misplaced, the disadvantages are that it can be lost if the device is misplaced, stolen, or hacked. And someone, again, an example would be someone who needs to make transactions on the go and doesn't have a lot of funds to store on that wallet. Desktop wallets, it's going to be a little more secure, and a wallet that is installed on a desktop computer. More secure than online wallets, like we said, and it can be used offline as well. It can be hacked if the computer is infected with malware, so that's still a risk. The use case here is that someone who wants to store a larger amount of Bitcoins, but they're comfortable using desktop computer. Obviously, there's going to be you're giving up a lot of security by doing that because, unless you're very familiar with how to protect your computer for one, outside of buying like an antivirus or something, then you're still at risk. Hardware wallets is a physical device that stores Bitcoins offline. The advantages are that it's very secure and it can be used offline. Disadvantages, funds could be unrecoverable if the device is lost or stolen. This is where you becoming the sovereign individual to hold your own keys is the most paramount point, like you are responsible for it. This would be someone who wants to store a large amount of Bitcoin and is willing to pay for the added security of a hardware wallet. They're not that expensive. There's a bunch of options in hardware. Some of them can get pretty pricey, but again, it's how sovereign do you want to be? How much do you want to rely on yourself versus third parties like banks and stuff? The last option of a wallet would be a paper wallet. So this is a physical record of the wallet's private and public keys. It's very secure and can be used offline. It can be lost or stolen if the physical record is lost, and if you lose that key and you're not, for instance, maybe memorized it or something, then those coins are gone. Someone who wants to store a large amount of Bitcoins and is willing to take the added precautions to ensure the security. So there's a lot of ways to ensure security for seed phrases. I'm not sure that we get into that part, but steel plates and a lot of different creative ways to store your seed phrase. That's about as sovereign and putting all the responsibility on yourself as you can get. So because the keys can be moved from one device to another, the status of your Bitcoin wallet is not definitive. So for example, if I generate keys of my Bitcoin wallet on a computer, but later upload those to my phone so I can recover the wallet on my phone, that desktop wallet now becomes a mobile wallet, and all the advantages and disadvantages now are, in the same situation. When it comes to storing your Bitcoins, it's not just about who has control over them. There are many other risks to consider, and that's why it's important to find a storage solution that's both secure and convenient for you. When you analyze the trade-offs of the various types of wallets, you will learn that there's no ideal wallet that satisfies all needs. And that's true. You may find yourself having, I know I do, several wallets. Sometimes you just want to try out new wallets and see the features. They're not all going to check all the boxes. So in time, that will probably come, but right now there's a lot of development in the wallet industry, so you can kind of pick and choose what works for you. When choosing a wallet, there's several things you should consider though. Security, for one. So make sure the wallet has strong security measures in place, such as two-factor authentication and a secure password policy. Privacy, so consider whether the wallet allows you to remain anonymous or if it requires personal information, KYC type stuff, if you have to put in to set up an account or not. Whether it's easy to use, so you choose a wallet that is easy to navigate, especially if you're new to Bitcoin. There's some that can be a little more complex setting up and then using as well. Compatibility, make sure the wallet is compatible with your device or operating system. Some of them are only desktop wallet software. You can only do it on a desktop. Some of them are going to be just mobile. The fees, compare the fees charged by different wallets. It's not generally a huge difference. It's mostly network fees. Reputation, research the reputation of the wallet. It's a good point. If you're going to be trusting the wallet, you kind of would like to look into it. We'll learn about projects and wallets that are open source versus not open source. So maybe that has a play in whether you choose that wallet or not. Control. So some wallets give you more control over your private keys, which can be a security advantage. So all of these you can consider the wallet you want, whether it gives you full control or one that is more user-friendly. Okay, here we go. Open source versus closed source. Another important factor to keep in mind when choosing a Bitcoin wallet is knowing if the application or software is open source. Open source code is very important because it allows the community to review the code and continue developing the project if the team were to stop working on it. Just as Bitcoin's code is completely open source, as is this course, anyone can review it, use it, modify it. So should be the code of the wallet you use to store your Bitcoins. Again, it's up to you, but it's definitely worth doing the research into the difference and then understanding the company who's behind it. It all depends on how much research you kind of want to, and effort you want to put into it. Okay, so I went through this. It's not the greatest. It says, use your knowledge of Bitcoins to select the best wallet based on the criteria. It gives you a couple options, and I can't do it from my phone. How do I bring this up on here with a screenshot? I can't, right? If anybody wants to try to, it basically, it gives you, it breaks down like, do you have Android? Do you have Apple? Do you want a mobile wallet? Do you want a hardware wallet? And then it's based on your criteria, it's going to give you options. But I went through it and it didn't give a whole lot of options. It basically broke it down to two. So I wasn't going to go too deep into it, but I want to offer people to check it out because it is a good resource for other things as well. But we're going to get into these anyways and get more options than I saw kind of in that. If anybody's taking a look, like you can go through it in a couple seconds, and I think it gave me like 2 options maybe, I think is, I did like Apple mobile wallet and nothing else. And did it give you more options? Ton of hardware, yeah. I did only mobile. I'd take that back because that's kind of what we're going to focus on here. There was actually one I hadn't even heard of, so it's kind of weird. I think it'll be okay because we're going to get into them anyways. It's part of what's coming up. So we'll talk real quick before we get to the types or the different wallets you can use into how it's actually set up. Now that we have a better understanding of the Bitcoin wallets and the differences between them, we'll see how to use one in practice. So for this example, we'll create a mobile wallet directly on our smartphone. So this is actually coming from one of those options in that QR code that you had here. The execution is the same. It doesn't matter if it's this wallet. I'm going to use a different one to show the process, but it's the exact same that would be through here, these screenshots. It's just a different provider. But I do want to read this because this is kind of going to be the exercise that we do. And I think we're going to give a couple options if people probably already have a lot of Bitcoin wallets here. If you don't, we'll give some options so you can download and participate here. We're going to do another thing in chapter 8 with Lightning. So how to create a Bitcoin wallet, search in the app, right? Open the app, 12, yeah, okay. So we're going to do all this part. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. How to restore it. Okay. All right, so the way I want to, we're gonna do everything it says here, but we're just gonna do it ourselves. As you can see in 2, it kind of says open the app, and type in your 12-word recovery phrase. So we're gonna get to all that stuff. What I'm gonna use is one option that it's open source, it's a mobile wallet, and it puts you in the driver's seat more so than a custodial wallet. So this is where you're gonna get the keys and you're responsible. So it's not like Coinbase having your keys. So when you send Bitcoin to a wallet like this, this is gonna be something where you're responsible for those keys. What's up, Pedro?
Do you ever have to update that wallet?
I think they do provide updates for the software. But what we're gonna do is also just a mobile wallet. It's not gonna connect to a hardware wallet. We're just doing a mobile wallet here. There are some hardware wallets, I don't know if that's what you were pointing at, where you have to update the,
Right.
yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is like, could you have it on a, like an air gapped device and just never have it connected, and then 2 years later, it'd be fine without it needing a update?
Not this one, yeah. This is gonna be solely for you. So it's very personal to everybody. Like if I say, how much are you comfortable leaving on a device where you're still in control because you have the keys, that's different to everybody, right? Versus like, how much do you feel comfortable leaving in a in a custodial wallet where you don't have the keys? Maybe that's less. Everybody's gonna have their own risk tolerance and what they're comfortable with. That's the beauty of this, and there's a lot of products that can fit that. But for this is gonna be just a wallet where it's on your device and it's secure because you're the only one that's gonna hold those keys. But keep in mind that the keys are generated online still. So take it for what it's worth. There's a risk there, a non-zero risk, but it's definitely better than having someone else hold the keys and decide whether you can move your coins or not. So there's a lot of different levels, and we'll get into more of them as you can get into what he was talking about, hardware wallets where it's completely offline and you generate the keys. There you can even go as crazy as dice rolling to generate the seeds so that part is random as well. So as incredibly sovereign and hardcore tech you want to get, you could probably get there. This is a good start, I think, to be able to hold keys, be the one that's responsible for it, but also have the ease of like a mobile app that we're used to using. So this is on the phone, so it kind of looks weird. I can't expand it anymore, but I think it'll work still. So Blockstream is a company. They provide a lot of open source products. They've been in mining and Bitcoin for a long time. One of their products is Green, which is the mobile wallet that they have. Terms of service, of course, you're still agreeing to some stuff, but
So is Green Wallet in the app?
the Green Wallet is in the app, yeah, or in the App Store, and I think it's on Google Play as well. Okay, so I just want to give an example of how to create a wallet here. We're going to get started. How do you want to secure your funds? On this device or hardware wallet? So they have the option for hardware wallet, which I think is great too. They have a device called the Jade, which I use personally and I love it. We're going to do a online wallet. So we're going to do on this device. This would be your phone, for example. So we're going to click that. Take control, your keys, your Bitcoin. Your keys secure your coins on the blockchain. New wallet. Bless you. There's also an option to restore. We might be able to get to that activity here. So this wallet we're going to create is for the class. This is going to be an example, but you would do this on your own, and you would want to make sure to take all these precautions. This is the beauty of setting it up to where you're responsible for it. So safe environment. Make sure you're alone. No camera recording or you or the screen. Sensitive information, whomever can access your recovery phrase can steal your funds. So it gives you a nice little bit of prepping for what you're about to do. Safely stored. If you forget about it or lose it, your funds are going to be lost as well. So this is, again, emphasizing how it's on you. So show recovery phrase. It really goes from downloading the app to going through the process of creating a wallet. And here we go. So we're going to stick with the 12-word. There are 24-word seed phrases. It's I think 12 is plenty secure. So we'll go with 12. And it's literally going to generate the 12 word seed phrase that is going to be able to, remember when we talked about at the beginning of this, that your Bitcoin isn't necessarily on your wallet. It's on the blockchain and it's secured by these seed phrases. So the only way that that coin can move on the blockchain is if the seed phrase that's signing for that coin is coming from that wallet. For this wallet, so you would want to write these down, right? You would want to make sure, you don't want to take screenshots of this. You don't want to have this online as much as possible, or I'm sorry, you want to keep it offline as much as possible. You'd write this down, not take a screenshot, and move on. So I think I probably should write this down. Can somebody help me write these down?
I got you.
Okay, because I think we're gonna actually go through the recovery process. Cave, afraid, cluster, cabbage, arrow, doctor.
Just take a picture of it.
Yeah, you could do that for now too.
I'm just gonna use it for recovery.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's the first 6, and the last 6, it gives you, you would want to write these down again. Okay. So to this point, you would have written down the words. You click next. It's going to give you a little test to make sure that you, so somebody pull up the picture, please. To make sure that you have written them down, because again, this is the last chance. If you lose these words, the funds you put in this wallet are lost. What's the 5th word?
Arrow.
Arrow. 6th word?
Doctor.
Doctor. And 12th word?
Mention.
Mention. 10th word?
Humble.
Humble. Okay. So another layer of security that it'll add, you can add a pin. I'm just going to put, again, don't do 111111, but
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
111111. Verify your pin. Continue. And you have a new wallet. It wants me to create an account. Standard, single sig, yeah. 2-factor protected, cheaper single sig option, addresses are native, quick setup, 2FA. So I always recommend as many security protocols as you can. 2FA, I'm not going to set that up now because I would have to go to the 2FA app. So we're just going to set up the normal one. This is, yeah, so 2FA, if you're not familiar, it's 2-factor authentication. It's just most, a lot of places where you would sign into something, want to confirm that it's you. So you would also have an account with the authenticator app or something that will give you a passcode to log in. It's just another layer of security. So I definitely recommend doing it. I do it myself. I'm not going to do it for this test one. So here's your wallet. Got the receive option. We're going to go through all this in a second. Basically, now this wallet is live. We can send this wallet Bitcoin. So let's go back over here real quick. So we went through the 12, again, there's 24 word recovery phrase that you can do. This is the seed phrase. So you write this down and keep it in a safe place. This recovery phrase allows you to recover the Bitcoin to access to your Bitcoin if you need those, if you lose the phone or the computer, if you have those words, it can be recovered. We're going to go through that too. You must confirm that you've actually saved your recovery or seed phrase. To do so, you must enter the same order. So make sure we have those in order. It's very important that they're in order. And as additional measure of security, some wallets allow you to choose a secure password. I don't think we're going through a passphrase here on this one, but your private keys and your first Bitcoin address are automatically created for you. In that wallet, if I click receive, it's generating my first address for that wallet. So think of your public address as your email address. You want to share this with others so that they can send you Bitcoins, or in the case of an email address, they send you an email. And you think of your private address as a password to your email. You wouldn't share this with anyone, as you would give them access to your email. So basically what it's saying is, there's a public address to every wallet, and basically you can share this with anyone. They can send you Bitcoin, but there's also the key to signing those transactions. You don't share that with anyone. That's for you to be able to transact with those coins.
Go back to the wallet.
Oh, to the wallet.
Bitcoin public address on that.
I don't know where the XPub is, but let's see.
Receive, right there.
So this address, it's breaking it down into a bunch of characters. It's always going to start with like a BC1. There's a few different types of, there's SegWit and native types of addresses. So you would just literally have to click copy address, and you can share that with another person who's going to send you Bitcoin. And we're actually going to get to that. So this is a public address you're very able to share with anyone without any worry of them having access to your funds.
So that's the public, and then the private is the 12 words.
Correct.
Just letting everyone know. Because you're
That's
saying
what I would share to everybody.
you would share,
Yes.
it's a long thing that starts with BC, that's your public. Those 12 words are your private, that's how you sign into your wallet. The 12 words you don't give out. Just that BC,
That public receive address, you're gonna generate a new one each time you receive.
yeah.
Yeah, so some wallets will do that, and it's a great practice to, if you can, don't So think of it this way: your wallet can produce almost infinite amount of addresses. So this BC1 ending with DO right there, that is a one-time address, but this wallet can produce a lot of addresses.
So that one-time address, I would give it to you so that you can.
You would send it right now,
Mhm.
then hit that refresh button on the top right of the address.
There's a new address. So, and if the first address had actually received coin on chain, the wallet, and a lot of them do this, would know, and when you request a new address, it'll be a different one. It won't be that same one. You can still send to that address. It still works for this wallet, but it also produces new addresses. Because it's just good practice to try not to reuse addresses if you can. There's nothing really that it'll be detrimental to you. It's just the addresses can be tracked, right? It's a public blockchain, so the address can be tracked. It can see how much has been going back and forth through that address.
One detrimental thing, if you go crazy with that refresh button, and let's say you do like 30 addresses and you don't receive anything on any of them, and then you do one more and then you receive on that, most wallets, they're gonna search like 10 addresses ahead, and if they don't find anything, they're not gonna show your balance.
Okay.
So make sure you use the addresses that you generate.
Don't skip ahead. Like there's,
Some wallets do this.
we're gonna go through one of them, Blue Wallet, which I like and I use, but like you can it can show you the list of all the addresses that you can use, ones that have been used, how much sats have been through there, ones that have not been used. So again, I definitely encourage playing with different wallets. We're only gonna be able to go through a couple with the time we have, but there's a lot of cool features with different ones, and some of them will speak more to you than others will. So use your receive address to receive Bitcoins, transfer Bitcoins to your wallet. So with the self-custodial wallet, you cannot always buy Bitcoins directly with fiat. So you may need to purchase and transfer it from an exchange. Most of these wallets they're wallets. They're not exchanges. You can't put fiat in or dollars into it to buy Bitcoin. This is where, when you buy the Bitcoin from an exchange like Coinbase or something, this is where you send it afterwards so that you're in control and not Coinbase. So to restore wallet, I think we can still do that here. Let's go back. I think I want to delete this.
Log out.
Do I have to log out for that?
Yeah, log out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So start up new wallet. We're gonna get started. So say I lost my phone that had my Bitcoin on it, right? I was holding my Bitcoin in my green wallet, and I had a boat accident and my phone fell off. My Bitcoin's still safe because I have that seed phrase, right? So I can go, I bought a new phone, I download Green again, and I just go in to recover a hardware wallet. So how do you want to secure your funds on this device like we did? Restore wallet. So this is where we're going to enter that seed phrase to be able to restore and recover our funds so that we're in control again. It's just on a new device. That device is now going to be where you can send that funds, but you have to recover it first. So what's our first word?
Cave,
Cave. Let's see how hard this is going to be.
afraid,
Afraid.
cluster,
Whoops. Cluster.
Cabbage.
Oh, this is fat fingers. Cabbage.
Yes.
Delicious.
Arrow.
Arrow. AAROW. Is that right? No, that's not right.
ARROW.
Sorry.
Doctor.
Doctor. Man.
Over.
And no autocorrect that's helping. 7.
Over.
Over. OVER.
Yes. Petrol.
Petrol.
Patrol.
Oh, patrol. I thought he said petrol, like
Oh,
gas.
the parents. Yeah. Enough.
Enough.
Humble.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, y'all.
That is kind of cool though. It doesn't have autocorrect.
Humble. There it is.
Document.
Document. Mention. Okay. So again, we wouldn't have shared this phrase with anybody. We would have had it written down. You could save it on steel. There's a lot of different ways to do that. You lost your phone. You lost your device. You had to recover it. It's okay. You can breathe easy because you have your seed phrase. You enter the seed phrase here. Continue. We had a pin. Oh no, this is going to set a new pin. I'm sorry, because you're restoring your wallet. So we'll use 111 on again. Continue. Wallet already restored. I guess it's because I didn't actually. Yeah, I didn't delete it. I just logged out. I should have deleted it. Okay.
Hey, well, I'm assuming on this wallet, if you entered the pin wrong like 5 times, it probably wipes the
I'm not too. It might. I'm not sure if that's like that might be an app or a wallet specific thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if it's smart or not, but I have the same pin that I use for all types of things. And
There's so many wallets. I think that could be one of the things you want to look for in the terms of service.
And it's also why two-factor authentication, like the authenticator app type thing, I think is even more ideal because my PIN can probably get guessed. But like if you don't have that two-factor authentication, then somebody outside of you can't really log into that. Sorry, this didn't work. It would literally just pop up the wallet as the wallet we had created, this one. So I can log into that one. And it would just be like, oh, your wallet's restored. And so all your Bitcoins would have been there. Doesn't matter if you lose the phone. Again, you can always restore it with the seed phrase. Okay, so that was restoring the wallet. Okay. Sending and receiving transactions. Bitcoin transaction is a transfer of ownership of existing Bitcoins to a new owner. However, instead of transferring actual coins, all the nodes of the network update their local copy of the public ledger to reflect the change in ownership. When sending a Bitcoin transaction, the sender signs a message that only they can sign with their private key, signaling to the network that the ownership of the Bitcoins changes to the recipient's address. The Bitcoins will now be tied to an address that only the new owner can send from, giving them ownership of those Bitcoins. Okay, we need to breeze through this, but the new Bitcoin transactions are initiated from wallets around the world. There's no central payment processor. Instead, miners around the world compete to record the transactions in the ledger. So here's a little example. Jim owes Ileana 0.5 Bitcoin and is ready to pay her back. Both have digital wallets. Ileana shares her address with Jim. Jim uses his wallet software to create the transaction, which includes Ileana's address, the amount to be transferred, which is 0.5 Bitcoin, and a fee for the miner. After signing the transaction, it is broadcast to the network where it's verified by nodes. Nodes check that the transaction for validity and ensure that Jim has enough funds. If he does not, the transaction is rejected. Once the transaction is verified, it is added to the blockchain by the miners, and the funds are transferred to Ileana's address. Ileana can then use her private keys to access the funds in her wallet. So it's important to note when the transaction is complete, it cannot be reversed. Okay, receiving Bitcoin transactions. To receive, you'll need to provide the sender with your wallet address. It's a unique string of letters and numbers that represents your wallet and is used to identify it on the Bitcoin network. You can find your wallet address by logging into your Bitcoin, kind of like we did a minute ago. You hit the receive button. You can then share this address with the sender in one of several ways. You can copy, you saw there's a QR code. Most of them are QR codes or you just copy and paste over. So once the sender has your Bitcoin address, they can send you Bitcoin by entering your address and the amount that they want to send you and initiate the transaction. The coins will then be sent to your wallet and will be visible once the transaction is confirmed on the network. This usually takes a few minutes. Every block is 10 minutes. So next we're going to take a look at sending Bitcoin transactions. It's really just telling you how to go through it. So basically if you want to send, there's the option to paste the address. You could scan the QR code. Let's see. Were you going to say something? I'm sorry. We'll go through that in a second. So now you know how to evaluate, set up a self-custodial Bitcoin wallet. Sending Bitcoins from one wallet to the other on the Bitcoin network is called sending an on-chain transaction. So on-chain is everything we've been talking about. This is because the transaction occurs at the main Bitcoin network blockchain. On-chain transactions are the safest way to transact with Bitcoins. However, transactions are more expensive and they're slower than other options that we'll discuss next chapter. Okay, this is an activity where it wants us to kind of go through, it wants a few people, but I just kind of want to play it out by talking it out because I do want to save a little time. It's already past 8, and I think we can get the same point across. And this is just to understand the underlying concepts and the mechanics of a peer-to-peer transaction. So quick reminder on the key players of a Bitcoin transaction. So there's the sender and receiver, the parties who wish to transact with each other. There's the node who validates transactions and store a complete copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. Light nodes let people validate transactions while using less storage. We'll get into nodes a little bit too. And then the last player is the miners. So they're responsible for adding those those transactions to the blockchain once they're confirmed by the nodes. So there's 4 roles, again, sender, receiver, node, miner. Okay? So the sender is going to create a transaction in the following steps. The idea here is that we're going to do it on paper to replicate how it works online. Okay? So you take a transaction note, write down the number of coins you want to send with the initials above of the receiver. So I write down 0.5. Initials of the receiver is going to be G, right? So I put G. Sign the note with your initials, simulating a private key. So that's simulating that you're signing the key with your online wallet. So you logged into your wallet, you have control of that key, you're signing a transaction to send to G. Pass the transaction note to the corresponding number of coins to the receiver. So I would send a note, I write it down, G, I'm sending you 5.5 Bitcoin. I hand it to G. As he receives it, he's responsible for verifying with the following steps. So he's going to check the transaction note to ensure that the correct number of coins and that the receiver's name and initials are written. So making sure that what we agreed upon is being sent to him. So count the coins received. This would be done by the app. It would show how much is being sent and received. And if it matches, check the approval box. You provide your wallet address so that I can send G the coins, and then it gets sent. So it's next it goes to the node. So the node's going to verify and validate the transaction. You're responsible for checking that the transaction is valid. So to do that, they're going to verify that the sender's address and the receiver's addresses are valid. First of all, that they're holding that the sender's address has the Bitcoin and the receiver's address is a valid one to receive Bitcoin. And then they're going to check that the sender has enough funds to complete the transaction. So this is all what the node's doing. It's making sure that there's no double spend and that the sender has the Bitcoin and that the receiver has a valid address. The miner, after it's confirmed by the node, the miner is responsible for adding that transaction to the blockchain. So the miner is going to check the transactions have been approved by the receivers and validated by the nodes. They're going to roll the dice and compare the numbers. So this is where it kind of got like an activity. So to mimic how miners can put blocks onto the blockchain, how they're basically fighting for it. The idea is that it is pretty random, and so using dice, the idea here is like 2 or 3 people roll a dice. Whoever's the lowest number won the right to add that transaction to the block. So for your time and energy as a miner, you earn a point or you earn Bitcoin rewards through the blockchain. At the end of the activity, the miner with the most points wins. So it would have been a little fun, but I think we're kind of pushing time, and there is a video coming up also in the next chapter. Yeah.
How long does it take to mine a block?
On average, it's 10 minutes. And so the beauty of part of the Bitcoin protocol is that and we'll get into this in the mining in chapter 9, but the difficulty is a representation of all the hash rate, all the miners in the world that are online at any time. And as more miners are online, it means more miners, more hash rate is competing for that next block, at the next same block. And so what Bitcoin protocol does is it wants to keep those transactions around the 10-minute level. And so when there's more hash rate, it makes it more competitive. The difficulty goes up so that the blocks are not found much quicker than 10 minutes. And when hash rate goes down and it takes forever to find a block, difficulty goes down as with it so that you can still find the block in that 10-minute period. And it's a little bit off topic, but we'll get into that part in mining in chapter. Right now it's 3.125 Bitcoin per block. Every 4 years is the halving, and we'll get into that part too with the mining. Every 4 years there's a halving where the issuance is cut in half. So it's the beauty again of Bitcoin. We know there's 21 million. We know the issuance because we know it's going to get cut in half every 4 years. So we know that right now it's 3.125, and in 4 years it's going to get cut in half. And that's why we know in the year, I think it's 2140 is when the last block will be mined. So
What happens then?
Bitcoin continues. There will be less mining revenue. At that point, it'll be a lot dependent on fees, which is part of the whole idea as well, is that we'll be transacting on the blockchain a lot more. Block space will be so valuable that you're going to be competing to put your transaction in the next block, which means those miners are going to be able to reap those rewards. Miners won't be getting, at that point, they won't be getting the block subsidy. Like right now, it's 3.125. Eventually, it's going to continue having to where it's very little. And at that point, the incentive for miners is that transactions which are a part of what they get every block anyways, are going to be a bigger percentage so that miners are going to still be incentivized to secure the network. But I doubt any of us will get to see that day. So it's early times for sure. Yeah.
Even kids born today probably.
No, man, like, yeah. It would be kind of cool to see how that ends up playing out at that time. Okay, the last is of chapter 7, and we'll get into Lightning. Saving in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a way to safeguard your money against inflation and protect it from being controlled by anyone else if you control it correctly. Saving in Bitcoin provides a vehicle to store, accumulate, and build wealth over time. As you understand by now, the type of money you choose to save is one of the most important decisions you can make. Choose wisely, and it allows you to build a better future for yourself and your family. Peace of mind when it's stored properly, it really is true. It's a cool feeling when you put something, when you get to cold storage and you're comfortable with doing that. And I really hope to get people to that level, but it is pretty cool. Don't trust, verify is a thing you also hear in the community a lot. So whatever you do in Bitcoin, remember this, don't trust, verify. There are no leaders in Bitcoin. You should never blindly follow someone's claims. That's one thing we're going to continue to express here. Rather, you should always question what you're being told and verify it for yourself. So by following this mantra, you protect yourself from losing your Bitcoins. This goes for claims such as the next Bitcoin, just as it does for investment opportunities or promises of quick and easy points. So in summary, in chapter 7, we just talked about the important skills to use Bitcoin in your everyday life. And you've learned how to get and exchange Bitcoins in different ways and how to keep it safe from various wallets. By setting up your mobile Bitcoin wallet and making transactions with others, You now have your hands-on experience. We didn't get to do that. I would like to do a transaction. We're gonna do transactions in Lightning. If anybody really wants to go through a on-chain transaction, I'm happy to do that as well. But I do want, for the sake of time, to try to get to the Lightning. So we'll see transactions there as well.
Fees are also kind of high right now.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. And it'll take only 10 minutes or so, but we could see it happen. But we'll see some cool stuff here with the Lightning chapter. So let's go straight into that. We're gonna see a video here pretty shortly. Lightning, while it may just be familiar for you or a new term, we'll get into it here.
Go to the wallet. Let me send you some on-chain.
For the Lightning thing?
No, for on-chain.
Oh, okay, for on-chain, I'm sorry.
Just see how long it takes.
Okay.
While you go on.
Yeah, let's do it real quick. Good idea. All right, so to receive on-chain, again, our wallet is open. You would literally just click receive. It's gonna generate one of those addresses we talked about, and you can do it as easy as scanning the QR code with his wallet that he has Bitcoin in.
Scan mine too?
She's giving away Bitcoin. This will go back into I'll give it back to you, or we'll keep it for the club. So some wallets this gets into the nitty gritty, but some of them will be like, if they notice the transaction being broadcast, even before there's confirmations, it'll show up as like pending. Some of them will wait, look, there it goes, unconfirmed. It's noticing that the transaction's being broadcast. It doesn't even mean it's been added to the next block by the miners, it's just being broadcasted. But this wallet is recognizing it, so once it confirms on chain, meaning that usually like it's at least 3, sometimes 5 or 6 confirmations.
It's like when Visa, MasterCard, when you use it, it's 4 days, this one's 10 minutes.
Yeah. And
Final settlement.
within that 10 minutes, there's confirmations that are happening, and usually 5 or 6 of them, it'll put those funds into your wallet. So it's completely yours and you're in possession of those. We'll check back on this. It's actually showing it already in my balance, but we'll see, watch, if I click this, it might show 0 of 6 confirmations. So this wallet, like many others, uses 6. It'll be confirmed and able for you to be spent after 6 confirmations, which will happen in about 10 minutes. So we'll come back and we'll see that, but thank you for the $G.
Real quick, is that
Yeah.
6 different confirmations that are happening, or is that saying it's connecting, validating across 6 miners?
6 blocks.
6, yeah.
So 6 blocks would take an hour, not 10 minutes.
True, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
6 different.
So basically, the
Validation
farther
types.
back in the chain the confirmation's starting point is, the more secure it is.
The more it's been confirmed by all the miners and the nodes and everything, so.
But the 6 blocks, it isn't necessarily always 10 minutes.
Right, on average, yeah.
So he's saying an hour, but it might be like 30 minutes.
In that first block.
10 minutes.
Could be 10 minutes, could be 5 hours.
Yeah.
Average is 10 minutes. Well, the average is 10 minutes.
Yeah, I've seen some, like, you can see 3 blocks happen in 10 minutes also, like, it's weird.
It's gonna take forever.
Yeah, it'll take a while.